we forgot to get the whole introduction song ready to rock and roll. Had it up ready to go on my phone. So the intro is kind of a little... It is what it is. All right, we'll get going. We are here, all right, with the Wicks on this beautiful, Thursday, February 24th, 2022. And for some of you, it might not be as beautiful as we think, right? We all hopefully heard the news of the ongoing conflict with Russia and Ukraine and what's kind of all happening there. I don't really know too much, okay, other than probably what most of you have already heard and already know. But hopefully things kind of get, figured out quicker than usual, quicker than normal. But listen, we're here. All right, we're doing our thing. We're going to do our part. We're going to try to figure out some type of way to have peace and go about our business. But obviously reality says that's probably not going to be the case. And whatever happens down the road happens. You can't change it. Even if you wanted to, hopefully it does get resolved. But from what it seems like, it's going to take quite some time, right? But what are you going to do? I hope everyone over there stays as safe as possible. I hope this conflict, like I said, gets resolved quicker than we've normally seen in the past with different battles, different wars kind of taking place. It is going to be a difficult time, I think, for most people, especially Ukraine, maybe Russia as well, and their people and Ukraine's people, and what kind of is going to happen. I have no clue what that entails for us. Who knows? The future is still, it still has to be decided and has to still kind of go about its course, and we'll get there in due time. And until then, stay safe. T's and P's to everyone out there. Stay safe as possible. It just... it sucks. It's one of those things that you can't control. It's out of your control. So what are you going to do? You're going to sit back. You're going to kind of watch what's happening. You're going to kind of build your own opinion, build your own thoughts and what we could do, what we can't do, and all that stuff. So I'm going to try to stay out of it as much as possible. I just know it's a very real situation. So if you are watching this instead of the news or instead of, all the other nonsense that kind of puts you into that, into certain people's shoes and into that world, I thank you tremendously. Because I think this is a space where we can kind of get away from all that. We can kind of talk about something we all love, something we all kind of have in common. And that is talking about the world of football, the NFL, the USFL, the XFL, all these different types of leagues we are going to be talking about in years come, in this year and all that other stuff. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some broadcasters on the move. Troy Aikman being a headliner, of one of the broadcasters on the move. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about the Kansas City Chiefs situation with their offensive coordinator, how that's all going to pan out, what that kind of looks like for the future, give you my opinions, my thoughts, and stuff like that. And then, we'll dive into the top 15 free agents heading into the NFL offseason, or now we are in the NFL offseason. We'll talk about them, what their projected cap or what their projected salary kind of looks like. Maybe they'll get tagged, maybe they won't. So we'll kind of dive into that whole situation. We'll kind of see where things go at that point. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? Gotta say, coming in here with no intro song was by far the weirdest shit I have done in quite some time. Okay, now take in mind, there was once in a blue moon, not too long ago, almost about a half a year or 6 months ago, where I didn't have, an intro music. And boy, am I glad I got one now for me, because, that was just the most awkward thing. It was, usually I come in here fucking ready to rock and roll, and then it's like, whoops, hit go live, and fucking goes out there waiting to get it going, get it queued up, and I hit it, and it was like, ding, 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 on my phone, and I was like, oh, jeez Louise. And what am I going to do? Walk in here and then fucking quick get it set up, walk back out, walk back in, when you guys can fucking clearly see that I did that, right? So I was just like, we'll get it started. But let's get talking about some football, shall we? Troy Aikman, as announced last night, is leaving Fox. That's right, he's leaving his partner Joe Buck and pursuing a career as a broadcaster, so as a color commentator for Monday Night Football. So he'll be in the place of where Brian Greasy, Lewis Riddick, and Steve fucking something. Can't remember his last name for Steve Levy. All right, so those three usually do Monday Night Football. Probably not going to be the case going forward. Obviously, we know Lewis Riddick is currently in some talks with possibly getting the Pittsburgh Steelers general manager job. So who knows what his career kind of entails and what his future looks like. But Troy Aikman is going to be leaving Fox and joining Monday Night Football in what looks to be about a 5-year deal, about $17.5 million per year. So that's, hey, congratulations to Troy Aikman on really setting the bar, okay, setting the standard of, listen, if you are a free agent broadcaster, if you're Joe Buck, if you're Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Troy Aikman just said, look, we can make $17.5 million a year. How about you go try to get your own deal? Because this is basically looking, or going to have everybody kind of looking at that and be like, well, he gets paid this. He's only been doing this for a handful of years. I've been doing this for fucking 25, 30 years at this point, possibly 50 if you're Al Michaels. Look, I deserve to have some, extra cash in the bank. So basically this is a big step for Troy Aikman, for other broadcasters or sportscasters or whatever you want to call them out there, color commentators, play-by-play analysis, or analysts or whatever you want to call. But he's going to be the main analyst for Monday Night Football, obviously. So the next step would be basically for Fox to be like, okay, what do we do with the vacant spot of Troy Aikman not being there, not being present, right? So reports coming out that maybe Greg Olsen or Sean Payton, who was the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, have the potential and the possibility of taking over that role for Troy Aikman, and they are the main candidates at this time. But the Fox can also go out and trade for Drew Brees, which was mentioned as well on @MySportsUpdate tweet on Twitter, per Ari Mirov, whatever you want to say. They could go out and trade for Drew Brees, who is currently on NBC's network, and I'm not really sure how the trade would work. It's basically, I feel like the same thing as if like a player were to get traded from one team to another. You got to kind of have some compensation for what you're giving and all that kind of nonsense. But it is kind of weird, too, that he decided to leave Fox. Now, granted, he probably wanted to make more money, and I don't blame him, all right? I do not blame him for that at all, because he does a great job. He does a good job. Not my favorite commentator to watch in the world. There's not really many out there besides Al Michaels. He's pretty cool to watch. He's pretty fun to watch. But Fox has the next 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, and he's deciding to leave. So it kind of makes you question what the hell is kind of going on. Does he just want the money? Does he want to make sure he gets more Dallas Cowboys games? Because he was pretty pissed on that playoff during the playoffs this year that he didn't get to call that Cowboys 49ers game. He kind of made a comment about that when he was doing his game with Joe Buck. I can't remember off the top of my head what game they were doing, but he seemed kind of salty. So maybe he's like, what the hell? Like I want to have Cowboys games. That's what I want to do, because we all know the entertainment team, okay, the Dallas fucking Cowboys, are always on primetime. Don't think that should be the case, because entertainment team for a reason, all right? They make a bunch of noise. They say they're going to do this. They say they're going to do that, so you kind of keep an eye on them like, oh, Cowboys might do something here, and then all of a sudden, ultimately, at the end of the season, they haven't done shit, okay? So they kind of they make you keep tuning in, keep watching, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the same old Cowboys that we got to witness the year before that and the year before that and all that. So it is what it is. But Fox is the next 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, and we all know if you host the Super Bowl, if you call the Super Bowl, you basically won as a broadcaster. You basically won that season. You basically are number one. You're the top person. I mean, I think it was, $7 million for 30 seconds to have an advertisement on this year's Super Bowl. So if you're calling that Super Bowl, that means, you're an A-lister or an A-list, broadcaster or color commentator, play-by-play analyst. You're that dude, basically, is how I'm putting it. So it's kind of interesting that Troy Aikman wanted to leave. Maybe it was about the money. Maybe it was because he wanted, more time to call the Dallas Cowboys games. and other stuff. I have no idea. But like I said, it also sets the bar for other free agents like Al Michaels. Okay, a lot of people think he's going to retire, and that might be the case. But let's say he doesn't, right? He has Amazon. Amazon's trying to get in the game with Amazon Prime. I believe Thursday Night Football is going to be on Amazon Prime now. So Amazon's going to be looking for some people, and we all know, or at least I know, Al Michaels has had a long-term relationship with Amazon in the past before he came over, I believe, to NBC or whatever he does now, or whatever network he's on at this point in time. Then you also got to look at Joe Buck, right? Joe Buck has 1 year left on his contract at Fox. So there's a lot of rumors going around that potentially Joe Buck and Fox might have like a kind of a sit down and talk about, all right, what should we do going forward? I have 1 year left on my thing. I don't want you guys to bring in a new guy with me just to have me leave again. Maybe we just kind of find a way to void that last year of my contract, get me out, get me somewhere else, get me moving around the building. But I have no idea. Maybe they extend him. Maybe they set him up with a really cool, really good color commentator or whatever it is. Just to kind of set the bar a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Just know that we have a lot of color commentators and play-by-play analysts probably going to be on the move. A lot of different scenery. I'd expect, obviously, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo to still be together. Even though I don't like Tony Romo. I don't like listening to him. He's just, for some odd reason, it just grinds my gears because he thinks he's all that, and he's really not. He's only been in the game for I don't know how many years, but that's my take on him. I just, I don't know how you guys can do it. If you like him, you like him. But just because he called the plays. But anyways, let's kind of shift gears and let's talk about Kansas City Chiefs, right? They just go on a playoff run. They lose in the AFC Championship game to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, who dey? Okay, they went to the Super Bowl. They did lose, but congratulations on a hell of a season. But the Kansas City Chiefs had a big question surrounding their offensive coordinator because Eric Bieniemy, who is their offensive coordinator, was being named for a lot of head coaching candidates or possibly going to have a head coaching job this year. That is not the case. So what was next? What's going to happen with Eric Bieniemy? Is he going to continue to be the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator? And if that is the case, they need to sign him another deal or sign an extension for him, give him another contract because his contract was up. And that seems to be what has happened. Eric Bieniemy will still be the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. He did sign a 1 year deal. Not really sure what the money is. But this kind of makes me think. He had all these chances to be the head coach in a bunch of different positions, or a bunch of different programs, right, around the league. A lot of them didn't choose him, or all of them didn't choose him to be their head coach, so he goes back to Kansas City. I'm kind of wondering if Andy Reid might call it a retirement after this next season, and then Bieniemy steps in to be the new Chiefs head coach. That's a very real possibility. But like I said also, I have no idea because head coach openings will be happening again next season. So there are a lot. I mean, typically there's about 5 teams that have a head coach opening at the end of the season. A lot of them just don't live up to the expectation. They'll get fired. Oh, you had a 2-15 season. You're not our guy. Get out of town. We're gonna find somebody else, and then he could have another chance at that. But I really think that he might be in position to be the new Kansas City Chiefs head coach after this upcoming season. But I couldn't tell you if it's a yes or a no, if that's 100% true. But that's just kind of what I got from it. A 1 year contract. Okay, they're bringing him back for 1 more year because he definitely should be a prime candidate for a head coaching position in the NFL because of what he's been able to do, what he's been able to help the Chiefs accomplish with 3 Super Bowl appearances, or 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 ring, multiple AFC championship games. So he's really done and really been the mastermind paired with Andy Reid. And so I'm thinking maybe if he's learning under Andy Reid's wing, which Andy Reid is the one who calls the plays. But at the same time, you got to kind of look at it like the Rams. Sean McVay calls the plays. He has an offensive coordinator, or had, Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell was said to be the mastermind behind those plays. Said to be the guy that really created them, really set them in place, where Sean McVay was the guy that kind of okayed what the plays were and then kind of called them during the game, or always called them during the game. And that's kind of what Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid are at this point. So you never know what's going to happen in the coming years. But that is the case, that Kansas City will still have Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. But once again, Andy Reid will be the one calling plays, where Bieniemy's kind of work with the players and figure out what kind of plays can we create to have a better offensive scheme, a more firepower, more attack, and that's basically probably what is going to happen. Okay, so let's kind of move away from there. We all know this is the off season; not much is happening. So we got to talk about the free agents that are out there at this point. We all know that the tagging, or being able to franchise tag a player, has started. It started on Tuesday. It works its way all the way to, I believe, March 8th, I want to say, is when the last day to tag somebody is. Nobody's got tagged yet. Okay, it's a lot of, we got to clear some cap space, like the Green Bay Packers. They've converted $14 million of their cap space back to, or basically they've added $14 more million to their cap space. They were $40 million above the cap, so now they're about $26 million above the cap. They still have some more deals to get done, more reconstruction or revamping of the contracts, really, to get down into the positive cap space to spend this offseason. But there are quite a few free agents. We're only going to go through the top 15, kind of talk about what they're projected to get or what they might get this upcoming season if they're not tagged, and what's kind of going to all happen. So let's start right off the bat. Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams, he's probably the top free agent, obviously, because he's the best receiver in the NFL, at least in my opinion, in my eyes. Yeah, Cooper Kupp had a great season, don't get me wrong. No, nothing against Cooper Kupp at all, but in my opinion, in my eyes, the best route runner, the best footwork, the best hand-eye coordination, the guy who just goes and does his job on a daily basis is Davante Adams, okay? And he is a free agent. More than likely, he gets tagged. Just how it's going to go, and I think the tag, the veteran minimum for a wide receiver, I believe, is about $18 million for 1 year. So, and all of that is guaranteed, I believe. But he's projected to have a 4-year, $95 million contract. There's no way in Green Bay is going to afford that. It's just not possible. That's over, $24 or $21, $22 million a year. So that's pretty spendy, but you're getting the best receiver in the NFL. So, I mean, you obviously got to kind of look at that in a positive way, in a positive manner. So he's definitely one of them. Another one, Terron Armstead, who played for the Saints. He is projected to have a 3-year, $60 million contract coming up. And the Saints are about $78 million, okay, over the cap, or about $72 million over the cap. Saints are going to look tremendously different, okay? I have a good feeling Jameis Winston won't be there. I have a good feeling, obviously, Terron Armstead won't be there. Another Saint that is a free agent, Marcus Williams. He is projected to have a 4-year contract worth $64.5 million. Okay, so right there, 64.5 plus 60, that's $124.5 million in the next 4 years total. They're not going to do it. Okay, they just can't figure out a way. So one of those two are probably going to get tagged, and the most likely one is probably Marcus Williams, because he's young, he's a really good talent, he's a safety. It's hard to find good safeties in the NFL, and when you do, you want to keep them as long as possible, because they obviously help protect behind you and keep the ball in front of you, basically. So those are two big spots for the Saints to kind of figure out. I'm sure they will. Another big one is Chris Godwin. He's a free agent. He's probably not going to get franchise tagged. At least I would guess it's probably not going to be the case. If Tampa Bay wants to kind of be that guy, okay, then they'll franchise tag him. But I just don't think that's going to be the possibility, or that's just not going to be the case. Okay, I honestly think Chris Godwin is going to be on the move. He's going to find a new home. A lot of people are saying the Philadelphia Eagles. That'd be a good place. The Pittsburgh Steelers would be a good place. The Las Vegas Raiders need somebody over there as a wide receiver, because they lost Henry Ruggs. They need a legit number one guy. They have Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow out there, but I just don't think those guys are legit number one receivers out there. So Chris Godwin would be a perfect fit out there. He could go to Denver and pair up with Jerry Jeudy, Curtis Samuel, I believe, is over there, or Tim Patrick's over there. There's multiple places that could use a wide receiver, so Chris Godwin could be on the move. He is projected to have a 4-year, $70 million contract. That is kind of what it is all set to be. So hopefully he finds the right team. Hopefully he finds the right fit. Coming to Minnesota. I mean, I don't know if we can afford it, but we'll figure it out. I mean, somehow, maybe not. Because we got to figure out Kirk's contract, probably restructure that, free up some cap space, help us out a little bit, okay? Because Anthony Barr might be on the move. That's a real possibility. Patrick Peterson might not be on the team again. Xavier Woods might not be on the team again. So there's a lot of fluctuation to go there. Von Miller. Von Miller is also a free agent. Now, he just got traded to the Rams. I predict he stays with the Rams. Probably doesn't get franchise tagged. If I had to guess, he probably gets a contract done, probably gets hired, but I don't think that's going to be the case. He has a projected 2-year contract for about $34 million. That's kind of what it's looking like at this point. So we'll see kind of what happens with him. Like I said, I do think him and the Los Angeles Rams get a deal done to keep him in Los Angeles for at least 1 or 2 more years. So that'll be huge when that comes about. Chandler Jones, longtime Cardinal, Patriot. He is also projected to be a free agent. And this is a big one because, he averages about 15 sacks a season. About 12 to 15 sacks a season. But this year he was obviously hurt for a little bit. I think last year he was hurt a little bit as well. But this guy is a monster, and whoever gets him they're gonna cherish him. They're gonna love it every single minute that he's out there. He's also getting up there in age as well, but that doesn't mean he can't perform, right? He's projected to have a 2-year, $33.5 million contract. So not, terribly expensive, but still something, that a veteran's going to get. That's basically what a franchise tag would be for 2 years, basically. That's kind of what it's looking like. But Chandler Jones, when you get Chandler Jones, you get a freak, you get a guy, you get an athlete out there. You get somebody who's going to stop the quarterback, get a lot of quarterback pressure, cause chaos on that defense, and make the offense kind of make stupid decisions. And so whoever gets him is, I think, going to be really, they're going to be in the right position to kind of go chase whatever the hell they're chasing, whether that's the playoffs, whether that's, a division title, an AFC, NFC championship, a Super Bowl, whatever it is. I think he'd be a really good addition for that team. The Patriots, J.C. Jackson. Now, he came out the other day and said, I thought they saw a lot in me. I thought they liked me, but I guess that's not how it is. Well, listen, Bill Belichick is the head coach and the GM. It's going to take some time for him to kind of figure out who the hell he wants on his roster and why he wants him on his roster and how much he's going to pay them on his roster. Now, when he made that statement, when J.C. Jackson made that statement, Bill Belichick was actually at a fundraiser for a bunch of kids and whatever else, raising money for them, raising awareness or whatever. But he is projected to be a free agent. And it seems as if he's projected to have a 4-year, $72 million contract. He deserves it. Okay, he's an interception machine. He's a ball hawk. He goes out there and makes opposing quarterbacks look stupid, plain and simple. Okay, he's a really, really good defensive back. I would find a way to sign this guy. If you have to franchise tag him, so be it. But don't expect much more after the fact, right? If you franchise tag him, he's going to be a little sour about it. He's going to want more money, especially if he exceeds expectations on that franchise tag. He's going to want probably close to $80 million a year. So just keep that in mind, New England, all right? Mike Williams, the wide receiver of the Chargers. This guy could be on the move, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to stay a Los Angeles Charger, even though they don't have a fan base. And with the Rams winning the Super Bowl, I think that makes it that much harder for the Chargers to gain a fan base, obviously being in Los Angeles. How about they just move back to San Diego? Huh? Come on. You just get out of town. Okay, this ain't your town. This is the Rams country. This ain't Chargers country. This is Rams country, so we got to figure out something else. But Mike Williams, he's projected to have a 4-year, $68 million contract. Now, I think he's going to stay with the Chargers, whether they get a deal done or not. He's going to get franchise tag, unless they have others, obviously, out there. I'm not really sure how many other people they have that are free agents, but I don't think it's that many, per se. So just be on the lookout for that. And I already talked about Chris Godwin, how many wide receivers could be, in different locations. So there's a very good chance that Mike Williams could be on the move. And whoever gets him, I think, is going to get a top receiver in the NFL. Orlando Brown Jr. for the Chiefs, offensive lineman. I think he's going to be on the move, probably go to the Baltimore Ravens, maybe the Raiders. I mean, there's a bunch of different situations that he could end up in. But he's projected a 5-year, $105 million contract. Okay, offensive linemen are hard to find, and when you find a good one, you want to keep him on your team as long as possible. Okay, it's hard to play the offensive line position. It's very hard. It's very tough. But I have said in the past, it's the easiest. It's the easiest position where if you play on the offensive line, it's the easiest way to kind of go from offensive guard to offensive tackle to center. I mean, it's not as hard as going from wide receiver to running back or wide receiver to tight end. I mean, I guess that might be a little bit easier. But I think when you get the chemistry, when you build the chemistry with an offensive line, you can really see it. Cincinnati Bengals. They did not have any chemistry. But who knows? Okay, he's probably a little sour after they lost the AFC Championship game. But it is what it is. Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson II is also a free agent. He's projected to have a 3-year, $48 million contract. Probably doesn't get franchise tagged, especially after all the nonsense he not really nonsense he pulled, but like the stuff he was saying about Chicago and get me he wanted out. Okay, plain and simply, he just wasn't getting enough targets. Wasn't really a part of the game plan at all, which who cares? I mean, you're Chicago Bears. It is what it is. You guys have a rookie quarterback. He had kind of a quarterback situation that nobody really knew what the outcome of it was going to be. So Allen Robinson could be on the move. Jesse Bates III, who is the Bengals safety, is projected to have a 1-year contract. Where $12 million, basically that 1-year contract, I think, is probably because the Bengals might franchise tag him before they let him walk and next year, just to see how things go. Or that 1 year might be the franchise tag for safeties, the 12-year or $12 million for a veteran. It's a veteran minimum kind of thing for at that position. I'm not sure, but he's definitely on the move. Ryan Jensen, who's obviously Tom Brady's center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe. Yeah. He is also a free agent. I don't know if the Buccaneers will keep him. They'll probably try to keep him as hard as possible or as tough as possible. But, yeah, he's projected a 3-year, $39 million. So we'll see what happens with there. Jadeveon Clowney, he's also a free agent. I think he stays a Brown. I think the Browns figure out a way to get a deal done, and it looks like he's only going to get a year and about $15 million, and that's possibly because he gets the franchise tag most likely. The Dallas Cowboys, Randy Gregory, he's projected to get a 2-year, $25 million salary, but he's a free agent. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'd probably franchise tag him. And I mean, Jerry Jones, if he likes the dude, he's going to find a way to pay him, okay, and keep him on the team. And if not, wasn't meant to be. All right, go somewhere else. Figure yourself out there. And last but not least, Stephon Gilmore is the last guy who is a top 15 free agent, at least in my eyes, or in other people's eyes. He played for the Carolina Panthers. You know, he got traded from the New England Patriots. Started Week 9, but. You know, honestly, I believe he probably signs an extension with Carolina. Otherwise, I don't know where else he could go. There's obviously other spots or other programs, other teams, organizations that he can go to and excel at, I believe. But he's projected to have a 2-year, $28 million contract. So those are the top 15 free agents. The number one definitely being Devontae Adams, and Green Bay's going to have to figure out some way, whether that's the tag, whether that's finding a way to clear up that much cap space to pay him 4 years, $95 million. Seems very unlikely, but they could definitely figure something out. I'm assuming make a lot of those years voidable or whatnot because, you know, it is what it is. But that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether that be on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, hit the like, hit the share. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. It would be much, much appreciated. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not watching the news or you decided to watch this instead, I mean, thank you tremendously, because we all know of the events that are taking place, and massive, massive T's and P's to everyone out there, and hopefully you all stay as safe as humanly possible. We will be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time with hopefully Y4 or John. We got to talk about his concert that happened this past Tuesday, which, by the way, fucking electrifying. It was fun to watch. It was fun to be there. It was fun to, yeah, well, I mean, it was just a fun event. It was a great time. Got to meet a guy from Cincinnati. We'll talk about that a little bit and his story and his background. That was kind of cool to see a different part of the world and different, stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty cool. So we'll be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time. Like always, have a great one. Stay safe out there. It is snowy, and continue to watch the news and be informed and stuff like that. And if not, hey, you're in my same boat, okay? I'm just gonna find the news when it finds me, basically. All right. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow, and you just got your fix with the Wicks. Peace out, folks.